Hi everyone, in this tutorial I'm just going to talk about the basics of graphics and the common graphics that you're going to need to use when editing a video for BPR. These are the two graphic templates that I have so far that I think are going to be the most relevant to what you're doing. Yeah, and as usual, I'll have all the keystrokes being displayed and stuff. Okay, so the first one is a lower third, and a lower third, let me just show you what that looks like. So this is what a lower third looks like, right? Like when you look at like the news, they'll like say who this is, like whatever the name is and such. And we have the same thing in BPR. You might have seen this in like the New York Times videos. We have this one for the most recent one with Kira's interview with Latifah Simon, in both the short form and the long form. And I have this as a template for a .psd file, so everything is standardized. You will have the same fonts that I do, you will have the same spacing, the same coloring, etc. Just to keep things for consistency's sake, these are also uploaded to Google Drive. You might be able to edit these in Canva, I'm not actually sure, but you should just download Photoshop and learn to use Photoshop because it's really good. Okay, so to configure this template, it's really easy. Just go over here, select the text tool, just go here and change the name to whatever you need it to be. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Same thing for this down here. Okay, going to the end screen template, again, a lot of the same thing. You just select this, type whatever name you need to be. I don't anticipate that you'll need anything different for the producer one, and our stylistic choice is just to make everything fully in caps for the names. So yeah, this is already centered for you. And in the event that you need to add a new producer, for example, talk to me about this because this template isn't very good at that. But if you need to move things around, Photoshop does a fantastic job of showing you that everything is equidistant. So see when I drag it here, it's 35 pixels from the second one and the second's 35 pixels from the third. That's the spacing that we want to preserve, right? So let's say we have multiple producers on this. Let's say like Kira and I both made a video, right? Then what I'll do is I want to select both of these, move it up until I see this 35 pixels thing. And then just to make sure, I'm going to select everything, all of these texts, and I'll drag it around until I see this pink line on the left here, because now I know I am centered in the middle of the screen, right? This pink line, this pink line. Now I know I'm centered in the middle of the screen, and there we go, right? I'm gonna undo all that. Command Z, same as usual, so same stuff between basically everything. Like if you use Command Z on Google Docs, that'll undo it as well. And these are all the templates that you'll need to configure for, this is for long form videos. This is used in both long and short form videos. Yeah, this is all you'll need to know for the Photoshop portion of this. Now let's go to Premiere Pro. Right now I am looking at the interview with Shoykat Chakrabarti that Sartek and I produced. So you can scrub through, do whatever. But basically, the main thing that I want to talk about today is how to create graphics in Premiere Pro. So if I need to add a text element, like yeah, like that's an example of the graphic stuff we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's start off pretty simple. How do we add text? Well, just go here, right? The type tool, or you just press T and then type whatever. And then I'll talk about some important settings. Let's say there's like a fact check box. I'll say like, oh, Helios is actually wrong about XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. Like this is a very basic box. And by default, this looks like trash, right? Like you can't see anything on the background or anything like that. So I'll talk about some properties that you can configure to make your text look a little bit better. So before we go to the Effect Controls tab, go to Properties, and just select the text. Now we have a bunch of other, and make sure like you select the text here. Like click this until you see things like the font, font size, appearance, etc. And I'll just set the font size to something relatively small right now. And this is really important because this is the only place where you can access things like drop shadows, backgrounds, text. So I'm going to put it here, right? This is not where you would traditionally put it because it's covering Shrikat's face, so we don't want that. But we can add things like backgrounds here, so it's actually readable. A drop shadow on it, right? So you can also do this. This is actually a lot more visible now. It's very, very subtle, but we basically add a shadow under the text. We can make it a little bit stronger, diffuse it a little bit more, and there we go, right? We can also have a background on it, and you can drag this to make it more or less transparent, so more opaque. You can use this to make it go past the red border, and you can use this to make a rounded corner. So these are the basics of graphics. And if you look at my last tutorial and wonder how I did the text, well, that's how I did it. Some other stuff that's useful to know. So you can create a new layer of rectangle if like you want to just like create a rectangle for some reason, or like if you want to do like a new layer of ellipses, a circle. These are probably less useful. The main thing you want to familiarize yourself with is how to do text in Premiere Pro. While we're here, I also want to talk about perhaps the most important text element for something like a short form video, which is captions. So how do we go about doing that? Well, you just go over to the text window and then you find the transcript part, and we can create a new transcript from here, and we can just transcribe this. I had it muted because when you scrub through, there's going to be sound, but for the past portion of the tutorial, it didn't actually need sound, so I just muted it so it didn't create any weird sounds. But you need to have it unmuted for this to show up. So I'm going to wait for Premiere to automatically generate the transcript. It can be off at some points, but it does a pretty good job. Just make sure you're going in there and fixing it, and there's a way to export it so you can have it copy edited by our copy editors and EIC, etc. Okay, so now the transcript is done, and you can just like scrub through all of this. Yeah. This transcript isn't all that useful. You can export it as like a text file, which isn't that useful. But what is useful is if you look here, you can create captions. We'll configure all of this stuff later. But what you'll need to know is if you're doing a vertical video, I'd probably set the maximum length in characters to around 25. But for the purposes of a horizontal video, because you have more horizontal space, so like what we're doing right now, then it's 42. If you're doing like the clip for a podcast interview on like Instagram or something, then set it to like 20-ish. That should be fine. Okay, so for now we're just going to create captions, and it's creating them, and then all of this up here is just what people are saying. I'll mute it now so it's not weird when I'm scrubbing through, but you can see all of the speech there. Something that's annoying is if you have a bunch of text files, you have to select all of them and configure them like this to change the font. There might be a better way to do this, I'm not totally sure yet, but I can just set it to this, and then just do what we talked about before, right? So if we want a background on it, there we go. I think drop shadow is usually enough, but I think a background also doesn't look bad, and I can just do this. Yeah. So you can just see the background as we scrub through. And that's how you do subtitles. The annoying part is correcting any typos. So if we want to correct what they're saying, I recommend, so by default, this is the project window up here. Go to the text and just go here line by what people are saying. So we can type whatever we want in here, right, in this box. And I recommend you configure it from this box, because you can technically also go here and like change it from the text here. I just find it easier to just go here and change it, because like it's in line with everything else. Double click out, really simple. Yeah, that's how you do captions. The annoying part is not this. The annoying part is all the captioning and all of the grammar stuff that you have to do, because Premiere really isn't all that good at identifying text yet. Yeah, I think this is a good rundown of all of the basic graphic stuff.